Stress Level Zero hasn't made any particularly good content since Boneworks 6 years ago. Now granted, only one game has come out in the time, being Bone Lab, but we've seen some form of new content throughout the years via its updates and test chambers that came with it, all of varying levels of quality. But today, I'm here to ask a more specific question. Not can SLZ make an okay game, but can they make something that is truly great today, based off of what we've seen and what we know now. And I'm actually going to go straight into it here. I do not believe SLZ, as they stand right now, has it in them to make a truly great game. Now, before you comment, I ask that you at least watch the video first, but I already know little Robert, who plays Fusion every single day, cannot stand for this SLZ hate, and is already typing on his hand-tracked Quest keyboard right now. Regardless, let's start off with SLZ's first title, Hover Junkers. I'm not going to say too much about the quality of this game, as it is kind of irrelevant. The team and goals have massively changed since this title, to the point where there is hardly any reason to bring it up now. Honestly, the only thing worth mentioning is that it's the starting point of SLZ shipping a title, meaning they've been making games for just over 10 years at this point, which is a point in their favor. Now onto something with a little bit more substance, Duck Season. Let me make this clear. I think Duck Season, and for future reference, Boneworks, are both really great games for their time. Duck Season has a full, but clearly indie, story mode with multiple endings, changes to gameplay as the game goes on, albeit limited, and a story that generally keeps players interested. I know for me, I was glued to my screen when watching Duck Season lore videos, and when things happened in game, they really did make my little 7-year-old ears perk up like a little FNAF-loving loser. The overall atmosphere is also borderline perfect, and makes the horror aspect stand out fantastically. After finally playing Duck Season for myself years later, I've gotta say, this game is still really good. Gameplay is fun, albeit a bit repetitive and simplistic after a while. The story is still very interesting, so much so that even to this day, I would still like the Duck Season lore to be directly mentioned. So all this glaze for this game, surely I fucking love it, right? Actually, yeah. I think Duck Season is an excellent game for an indie studio. It's fun, it's interesting, it's good. But I wouldn't consider it something truly spectacular. It's pretty short, gets old a little fast, and it's also kind of aged like milk in a lot of ways. Controller offsets on modern headsets are very off. There's no locomotion at all, and generally you can feel that sort of 2016 VR feel. But the expectations for what SLZ should do are not nearly what they once were. And with their next game, they would shatter expectations at the time by doing an entire genre shift. Here's where things get a little iffy. Boneworks, for its time, is a game that I would absolutely consider to be a great game. The interaction system, not game engine, not physics system. Guys, please. SLZ uses Unity and NVIDIA physics. All they really do is essentially make the player rig that can grab and climb things in a natural way, along with a whole giant list of other fine-tuning. But what makes Boneworks so special is that player rig. I want you to think about what Boneworks truly is without it. Think about the design of the levels and the enemies on their own, separate from the physical interaction. I know some people are going to disagree with me here, or maybe not quite get what I'm saying, but I think that Boneworks at its core is very little without the player's willingness to mess around with the physics and player rig. The campaign is pretty straightforward, the enemies are super basic even if you include the player rig in this conversation. Not much changes for today's standards. There isn't much that Boneworks does outside of having a great rig. There's some interesting lore stuff, a few cool moments with an astounding atmosphere, but the actual gameplay part is very simple. There are exceptions, like how Tower experiments with open zones and verticality, or how a bunch of other levels require that you get keys to unlock secret areas. But for the most part, the main gameplay consists of fighting nullbodies that are so stupid they can't even walk upstairs, nullbodies with more health, nullbodies with a projectile, nullbodies with guns, and head crabs, which are kinda nullbodies, although maybe that one specifically is a little unfair. There is no enemy that requires the player to tackle the experience in a unique way. Every enemy can be run up on and shot with very little thinking. The one exception I can think of is on Tower, where there's a bunch of Omnis here that will for sure kill you if you try running and gunning. But the problem is Boneworks' last stand feature that allows you to get a kill to respawn. This makes running and gunning super viable here and everywhere else, no matter the scenario, as long as there's enemies, you're good to go. They die hella fast. This is not to say that Boneworks isn't great or isn't fun. It's more so to point out that SLZ has currently not been able to make particularly interesting and fun core gameplay advancements outside of the player rig. Now that player rig is truly special, and for Boneworks, because this is the first time we got to experience the rig, I believe it made an otherwise just okay game feel like a really great one. But going forward, in order to make the accomplishment of meeting or exceeding expectations, SLZ will need to make the core game better this time, or have some kind of other new revolutionary technology. So moving on to Bone Lab, we're met with what I'd believe to be a disappointing game. It doesn't innovate in a meaningful way, even though I'm sure the body remapping stuff for the avatar switching is very technically impressive. Something that is hard to accomplish does not always equal something that is fun. In this case, it can have its moments, but generally it just feels like asking the team to make levels that take proper usage of this new mechanic in a way that is fun was simply too high of an ask. The whole game can be beat with a standard forward avatar, and very easily as well. But even then, most of these levels just feel like more Boneworks. They don't particularly do anything too creative and special, and again, the fun of this game comes purely from the player rig. Being able to hit cool trick shots on a nobody is awesome, but not because the actual game itself is awesome, but just that the player rig is good. This is a problem, as the player rig cannot carry the entire experience forever. It worked in Boneworks because it was the first time. It doesn't really work in Bone Lab for people who have played Boneworks, as it's nothing new, and it doesn't help that the campaign this time around is seemingly actually worse this time. But also, the enemies are the same generic nobody reskins we saw last time. At this point, going into B-side, which we already know is going to be a Boneworks sequel, we need something serious to change if this game is going to live up to expectations. The only two parts I actually have full faith in regarding SLZ's next game is that the player rig will be fun, and that the atmosphere will be on point, and secret third option, if Michael Wyckoff is there, the music will be great too. Those three things SLZ seemingly knows how to do perfectly. But B-side needs to have a serious improvement in basic game design to be great. I need to see more than just more Boneworks. I want to see levels that actually innovate and take advantage of this very capable player rig. I want to see unique enemies, maybe some that require parrying attacks or certain weak points. I want to see maybe more unique movement options like the cut double jump in Bone Lab, or some kind of dashing ability. I want to see at least one actual fucking boss fight this time. I want to be surprised by creative level design, like maybe one is upside down, or one plays with gravity in unique ways, or one that does both. Maybe vehicles can be used in some kind of crazy cool chase sequence, but most importantly though, I want to be surprised. There's a million things they can do. There's no way they can't come up with anything. And if they truly feel like they can't, I am right here. Here is my business email. Please reach out to me. All of this stuff are things that other games, even indie ones, would have no problem doing. But SLZ has never really made any levels that are actually standouts in terms of doing unique things with gameplay. The rig is plenty capable as is, and they've got a whole hell of a lot of time to work on crazy cool things. So really, there should be no reason this next title can't achieve these things. But my worry is that maybe the current SLZ team can't do it. The test chambers for Bone Lab have been super cookie cutter, the base game isn't unique at all, and the most interesting new content we've had was Mind Dive's hidden lair with a really cool atmosphere. No actual gameplay, just stellar atmosphere, sort of as always. Maybe SLZ are just holding back for whatever reason. Maybe they previously couldn't, but now they can do crazy stuff. Maybe more capable people were or will be hired on the next game. Truly, there's basically no way for us to know. But as it stands right now, I personally don't think SLZ has it in them to make a new game truly great. I worry they'll fall back on their main gameplay innovation of just having the player rig be cool. That honestly would be really disappointing if they did that for a third time. Hopefully, they prove me wrong though, and the new Boneworks content knocks it out of the park. But I won't be holding my hopes too high until they finally prove me wrong. Something they haven't done in the past 6 years. Even Wigwam has kind of lost hope in all of this, and he was literally the #1 Bone Lab glazer, but in a good way. We love you, Wigwam. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one where I talk about AAA VR games. It's a good watch, and a lot of people seem to really like it. You can get 10% off the entire Quest store using the link in the description or entering code LOP at checkout. It's the best way to support the channel outside of subscribing, which you should also do. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you next time, fat bitches. Lops and kisses!